On my very birthday, when everyone was raising their glasses to congratulate me, my daughter-in-law, Emily, dared to stand up in front of the crowded dinner table and scream straight into my face, "You're useless. You're old, so get out of this house." The entire restaurant fell silent. Everyone's eyes bore into me, as if I had just been sentenced right on what should have been my day. Emily thought I would lose control, that I would raise my hand to hit her, and then leave the house with the reputation of being a cruel mother-in-law. She had no idea that right in my purse that night were the papers gifting her and her husband a new house worth $450,000, a gift I had prepared with all my heart. And with just one insulting sentence, she had buried it all. I silently swallowed my anger, but inside, fire was blazing. Emily didn't expect that silence to be her sentence.
What happened after the party? When the lawyer appeared, when she was thrown out the door, and when she had to kneel and beg, will make you shudder. Before starting the story, I thank you for being here. Let me know if you or anyone around where you live has a similar story. Without keeping everyone waiting, let's begin the story together. My 62nd birthday was supposed to be an evening full of joy, where my son, David, and my daughter-in-law, Emily, would celebrate together, letting me feel family happiness. But instead of flowers and wishes, I received bitter humiliation right in front of dozens of strangers. From the moment I stepped into the restaurant, I had prepared a big secret in my heart. In my black leather purse, I carefully kept an envelope containing all the transfer documents for a new house worth $450,000. It was a reverse birthday gift I intended to give to David and Emily. I believed a new home would be the foundation for them to build a stronger family. I thought maybe Emily would feel that I truly considered her like my own daughter. But all I received in return were contemptuous looks and venomous words uttered right at the dinner table. Emily sat there, elegant in appearance, but her mouth poured out words that felt like someone slapping me across the face. "You're useless. You're old, so get out of this house." No one in the restaurant dared breathe loudly. The entire row of tables fell completely silent. I sat in stunned silence. My chest tightened. My hands trembled. But I didn't allow myself to cry. Emily wanted that. She wanted me to explode, get angry, even hit her, so I could be labeled as a cruel mother-in-law. Just that alone would make me the guilty party, and my son, in his confusion, would choose to side with her. I knew that scheme well. But Emily had no idea that the more humiliated I became, the more clear-headed I became. I sat silently, lips pressed tight, eyes staring straight at the wine glass that was rippling. In my heart, anger rolled like fire. I heard the papers in my purse rustling, evidence of the gift I had intended to give. And right at that moment, I decided, Emily would never have it. David sat right next to me, my son, whom I had spent my entire life raising and protecting, now sat with his head bowed, silent as a statue. He didn't speak up to defend me. He didn't stop Emily at all. That silence hurt me more than any words Emily had spoken. I remember clearly the feeling of sitting there, in the middle of an elegant restaurant, yet feeling like I'd been pushed out onto a cold street. I saw pitying looks from nearby tables. I saw someone's lips moving slightly, whispering, "Poor thing." But my pride wouldn't allow me to cry. I raised my wine glass, drained it, as if swallowing both the humiliation and the rage. The party ended earlier than planned. No one wanted to celebrate my birthday anymore. David paid the bill, while Emily smiled coldly, her eyes lighting up with victory, as if she had just won a great battle. I walked out of the restaurant, to the sound of cold heels echoing. But in my heart, I swore I would never let Emily achieve her goal. That night, when I returned home, I took off my high heels, dropped my purse on the chair, and sat silently in the living room. In front of me was a photo frame of my deceased husband, his gentle smile seeming to give me strength. I whispered, "Rest in peace, darling." I won't let anyone
take away this home. Never. I took the envelope out of my purse, placed it on the table, then pushed it aside. That $450,000 house, which was originally a gift I wanted to give, was no longer for Emily. She didn't deserve it. I pulled out my phone, my hand still trembling, and dialed Margaret, my longtime lawyer friend.
When I heard her voice on the other end, I spoke slowly, but firmly.
"Margaret, I need to see you, tomorrow." I knew, from that moment, Emily had dug her own grave, and I would be the one holding the shovel, burying her with both anger and justice. I couldn't sleep that night. Emily's words were like sharp knives, spinning endlessly in my head. I tossed and turned on my familiar bed, the room shrouded in darkness, with only moonlight filtering through the window frame. But in my heart, there was no light at all. Only a cold truth was gradually forming. Emily had never truly been as obedient as I had thought. I remembered the early days when David brought Emily home, a young girl with a gentle face, soft voice, eyes always moist as if containing an entire sky of emotions. I had thought, my son is so lucky. He finally found a woman who knows how to love family. Emily took care of me in those early days, asking about every meal, every pill. I had mistaken that for filial piety.
But as time went on, I increasingly realized that gentleness was just like a mask. Whenever David was present, Emily was the perfect wife, the perfect daughter-in-law. But when it was just me and her, those eyes became cold, lips curved into a mocking smile I couldn't forget. The way she called me Mom sweetly in front of David, then threw me contemptuous looks when turning away. It made me understand that in Emily's heart, I was just an obstacle. That birthday night, everything was exposed too clearly. Emily no longer hid anymore. She wanted me to disappear from this house, and I understood why. The house I was living in, where my husband and I had built together brick by brick, was now the largest asset I still held. After my husband died, I lived on savings and a small portion of Social Security. I didn't have much besides this house, and to Emily, that house was the final prize to be conquered. I clearly remember her eyes when she said, "You're old, so get out of this house."
It wasn't simply momentary anger. Those were calculating, cold eyes of someone who had already made a plan. Emily knew that if I left in self-respect, David wouldn't dare interfere. He had always been a weak, kind child, kind to the point of naivety. In his heart, love for his wife had blinded all reason, and Emily relied on that to push me out of their lives. I shuddered, thinking about the possibility. If that night I had lost my temper, if I had accidentally raised my hand to hit Emily, then the whole story would have been different. She would have cried and complained to David that I was a cruel mother-in-law, that she had endured too much, that she was the victim. And I knew David. He would believe it. He would look at me with reproachful eyes, would ask me to move out to keep his small family happiness. That was exactly the trap Emily had set.
Thinking about this, I felt both pain and anger in my heart. I had intended to give her an entire new house worth $450,000 to prove that I considered her like my own daughter. But greed never has limits. Emily didn't need that gift. What she wanted was the current house, the home filled with memories of me and my late husband. She wanted to seize it, wanted to turn me into a homeless person in the very house I had built. In the following days, I began observing Emily more. Every morning she woke up late, leisurely drinking coffee, looking in mirrors, grooming herself like an upper-class lady. I bustled about cleaning, cooking, while David had gone to work early. Occasionally, Emily would glance at me, her eyes flashing with barely concealed disgust. Once I heard her talking on the phone. Her voice was quiet, but enough for me to catch a few words. Just a few more months. She'll leave on her own. The house will be ours. I bit my lip hard, blood rushing to my face. That tone of certainty let me know Emily had a long-term plan. I remembered the times she cleverly suggested to David, "Honey, Mom is old. She needs rest. Maybe a nursing home would be better for her." Each time like that, David would smile awkwardly and brush it off. But I knew. Constant dripping wears away the stone. One day,
David would waver. And that was exactly what Emily wanted. I walked through the living room, seeing David and Emily's wedding photos hanging on the wall. She stood there, radiant smile, sparkling eyes like an angel. Outsiders looking would think this was a gentle bride who loved family. But I knew, behind that facade was a greedy heart, a venomous soul. Sometimes I asked myself, am I being too suspicious? Am I just thinking badly of Emily because I was insulted? But then I remembered those insulting words on my birthday night. No one could pretend when saying such cruel things. Those words came from the depths of her heart, from contempt and calculation that had been brewing for a long time. I began noticing how Emily looked at David, too. The way she caressed his arm in front of me, but her eyes would glance at me, as if saying, "He belongs to me. This whole house does, too." Every gesture, every look was like a challenge. In my heart, anger grew larger and larger, but along with it, a cold determination also sprouted. I would not let Emily achieve what she wanted. This house was not for a greedy person to step in and erase my memories. Every night I looked at my husband's photo frame, murmuring like an oath, "Rest in peace, darling. I will protect this home. I won't let anyone turn me into someone superfluous." I began writing down everything Emily had done, every word, every action, like an evidence diary. I knew that if I wanted to defeat her, I needed more than anger. I needed clarity, patience, and wisdom. Emily thought I was old, weak, easily subdued. But she had forgotten. A mother who sacrificed her entire life to raise children is never easily defeated. From the darkness of greed, Emily was walking step by step confidently, believing I would fall. But she didn't know I had seen through everything. And from that very darkness, I would build a bigger trap to drown her in truth. You may have heard stories like this many times before, but don't switch to another video, because the exciting part of the story is just about to begin. Without keeping everyone waiting, let's start the story together. 3 days after that humiliating birthday party, Emily again suggested the whole family go out for dinner. This time, she used the excuse of wanting to make up for my birthday, wanting to create a warmer atmosphere. But I knew clearly, Emily never did anything for anyone other than herself. David, my son, never suspected anything. He just smiled and nodded. "That's a good idea, sweetheart." "Mom, will you come with us?" I looked into his naive eyes and my heart ached. I nodded. In my heart, I knew Emily was setting another trap, but this time, I was ready. We sat at a table in an elegant Italian restaurant. Candles flickering, gentle violin music, romantic atmosphere. Outsiders looking would think this was a happy family. Only I, sitting silently at the head of the table, could clearly feel each undercurrent rolling up. Emily wore a bright red dress, lips painted dark, eyes sparkling falsely. She poured wine for David, then turned to me, deliberately making her voice ring out loud. "Mom, I hope tonight you won't embarrass us in front of everyone like on your birthday." I gripped the water glass tightly in my hand, heart pounding. People at nearby tables turned to glance. Anger inside me flared like fire, but I remained silent. David frowned. "Emily, stop it. Today we came out to have fun." Emily smiled slightly, leaning back in her chair, but her eyes glancing at me flashed with triumph. She wanted me to lose my temper, wanted me to jump up and scream. I saw that clearly. When the main course was served, Emily continued. "Mom, don't you feel you're being a burden? Old people like you should be in nursing homes, being properly cared for. At home, I have to work and take care of you. It's so exhausting." I put down my knife and fork, hands shaking. I could hear quiet laughter from some strangers at nearby tables. They didn't know the situation, just thought I was a burden. Humiliation rose again. But this time, I raised my head, looking straight into Emily's eyes. "Emily, do you really think that?" My voice was hoarse, but each word was like a knife blade. She didn't blink, smiling coldly. "I'm just telling the truth. You should accept old age. Make way for the younger generation. David was alarmed. Emily, you're going too far. Emily snapped her fingers lightly, acting indifferent. Don't defend her anymore. You know very well that your mother prevents us from having our own life. The entire restaurant fell silent. I clearly felt everyone's eyes boring into me. Exactly according to Emily's plan, she wanted me to explode, wanted me to hit or curse her, to turn me into the wrongdoer in front of the public. In that moment, I remembered the $450,000 envelope in the drawer at home. I remembered my trembling hands when I was about to give it to Emily. And I saw clearly my daughter-in-law's true face, a greedy, evil, and deceitful person. I took a deep breath, then slowly stood up. David opened his eyes wide, thinking I would explode in fury. Emily flashed a victorious smile, confident her plan had succeeded. But I just calmly said, "Excuse me, I need to go outside for some fresh air." I walked away, leaving the entire restaurant in tense silence. Emily watched me go, the smile on her lips gradually fading. She didn't understand. She didn't know that my silence was the fatal blow. When I returned to the table, I sat down, looking straight at David and Emily. I spoke slowly, clearly. "Thank you for dinner. But Emily, what you just said will never be forgotten. Not by me, but by yourself." Emily's face paled. David took my hand, whispering, "Mom, I'm sorry." I squeezed his hand gently, my eyes still not leaving Emily. I saw a flash of worry in her eyes. For the first time, Emily understood that I wasn't easily trapped. Dinner ended heavily. Emily no longer had the interest to perform, just silently drank wine. David tried to make conversation, but no one responded. When we returned home, Emily slammed the bedroom door shut. I heard her whispering through the wall. Why won't the old woman take the bait? Why is she still so calm? David sighed, not answering. I lay in my room, eyes closed, heart turbulent. Emily had clearly revealed her ambition, wanting to send me away, seize the house. But she didn't know I had called Lawyer Margaret. And just waiting for the right moment, I would strike the decisive blow. I whispered in the darkness, "Emily, you think you're smart, but you chose the wrong opponent." From that moment, I knew the real battle had begun. That night, after the tense dinner, I returned home with a heavy heart. David followed behind, his face clearly showing helplessness. Emily rushed straight into her room, slamming the door, leaving the entire house submerged in silence. I sat down on the living room sofa, taking off the shoes that had pinched my feet all evening. My feet ached, but physical pain was nothing compared to the humiliation I was bearing. My birthday, a day that should have been about respect, had become a ridiculous play staged by my own daughter-in-law. I quietly poured myself a glass of water. When I looked up, I saw my husband's photo frame on the shelf. His gentle smile seemed like comfort, but also like a reminder, don't give up. I whispered, "Darling, if you were still here, you wouldn't let me suffer such humiliation. But rest assured, I won't give up." Footsteps sounded. David came in, sitting down beside me. He was silent for a long time before speaking. "Mom, I'm sorry." I turned to look at him. My son's face, the child I once held in my arms, was now a grown man, but his eyes were so weak, it broke my heart. "What are you sorry for, David?" I asked, my voice choking. "For letting Emily say those things. I know Mom has endured too much, but I don't know what to do." I laughed bitterly. "You don't know what to do? You're her husband, you're my son. Just one word of defense, just standing on Mom's side. But you stayed silent. You know what? Your silence hurt more than all of Emily's words." David hung his head. He didn't argue back, didn't make excuses. He knew I was right. Right then, the room door burst open. Emily stepped out, looking like she had just won a great battle. She crossed her arms, voice sharp. "Rebecca, please stop playing the victim. Everyone can clearly see. You're our burden. You sit there, waiting to be worshipped like a queen, but actually have no value other than being a parasite." I stood up abruptly, heart ready to explode, but I still restrained myself, not letting my hands tremble. I looked straight into Emily's eyes. "You dare say that right in this house? The house that your father-in-law and I built together from nothing?" Emily curled her lips into a smile. "Yes, this very house. But let's be realistic, Rebecca. You're old. One day, you'll have to leave. Why not now?" David startled, turning around. "Emily, shut up right now. This is my mother. My biological mother." But Emily didn't retreat at all. She came closer to me, whispering loud enough for David to hear. "I know you're angry. I know you want to throw me out. But remember, David will never agree. He loves me. If he had to choose, he would choose me." My heart felt like someone was squeezing it. I looked at my son and saw his eyes briefly waver. That feeling made me want to collapse right there. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just turned around, walked into my room, and closed the door. Inside, I sat down on the floor, tears streaming down my aged face. So many years of sacrifice, so many years of endurance, and in the end, I became the extra person in my own family. But when I wiped away my tears, only cold anger remained in my heart. I couldn't let Emily continue humiliating me. I couldn't let David be led by the nose anymore. The very next morning, I called Margaret, my lawyer. My voice was decisive. "Margaret, I want to proceed immediately." Margaret replied, voice firm. "Rebecca, I've been waiting for this call. Don't worry. I'll stand by you. No one has the right to take away your home." When I hung up the phone, I felt lighter than ever before. Emily thought I would be weak, would leave in humiliation, but she was wrong. From the moment she dared humiliate me on my birthday, she had signed her own destruction warrant. That evening, when sitting at the same dinner table, the atmosphere was thick. Emily deliberately ignored me, chatting cheerfully with David. I watched that scene, lips pressed tight. In my head, I kept repeating one sentence. "Keep laughing, Emily. Tomorrow the lawyer will come, and you'll have nothing left to laugh about." The next morning, when sunlight had just filtered through the window frame, I was ready. I wore a simple gray coat, tied my silver hair neatly, and sat waiting for Margaret, my longtime lawyer, also a friend I trusted absolutely. At exactly 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Margaret walked in, with the sharp demeanor of a woman who had faced countless greedy people. She placed her briefcase on the table, looking at me with determined eyes. "Rebecca, today we'll end everything." My heart pounded hard. All the resentment I'd suppressed for so long seemed to pour into this moment. Emily came downstairs, still wearing a silk nightgown, holding a coffee cup. Seeing Margaret, she raised an eyebrow. "Who's this? Are you inviting someone over to complain again?" I stood up, eyes blazing. "This is my lawyer, and today, Emily, you'll hear the verdict." Emily laughed bitterly. "Verdict? Who do you think you are? This is my and David's house. You're just someone clinging on." Margaret tapped the file folder lightly on the table, voice sharp as a knife. "Wrong, Miss Emily. According to law, this house completely belongs to Mrs. Rebecca. No one, including your husband, has the right to take it away, and especially disrespectful behavior, insulting parents, according to this state's regulations, can become grounds for Mrs. Rebecca to expel you from here." Emily's face went pale. She turned to David, standing frozen in the corner. "Honey, say something." David looked at me, eyes full of confusion. I choked up, but spoke firmly. "Son, Mom has been silent too long. Today, Mom must protect herself." Margaret opened the file, pulling out papers with red seals. This is the document authorizing complete property ownership. Mrs. Rebecca has full authority to decide who gets to live in this house. And she has decided, from today, Emily no longer has a place here. Emily screamed, "Impossible! I'm David's wife. I have rights." Margaret calmly replied, "So what if you're his wife? Marriage rights don't equate to the right to seize private property."
And one more important detail. Your behavior. Disrespectful words to your mother-in-law right at the birthday party seriously violated moral obligations and family law. We have witnesses, at least 5 people in the restaurant ready to testify. Emily's throat went dry. For the first time, I saw her eyes tremble slightly. I stepped forward, voice shaking but full of authority. "Emily, on my birthday night, I intended to give you a new house worth $450,000. But you threw it all away with your arrogance. You wanted to seize this home, wanted to push me out on the street? Then today, you're the one who must walk out this door." Emily shook her head continuously, tears beginning to fall. But I wasn't moved. So many years of humiliation, so many times swallowing tears. It was time to end it. David whispered, "Mom, are you really going to throw Emily out?" I looked straight into my son's eyes. "Son, Mom has endured enough. Mom can't let this person destroy our home. If you choose to stay with her, then both of you should leave. But if you choose justice and truth, stand by Mom's side." The room fell into silence. David trembled, looking at his wife, then at me. Finally, he let out a sentence. "Emily, I can't protect you anymore." Emily screamed, rushing toward him. "Are you betraying me? Are you choosing this old woman over me?" David turned away, not answering. I saw tears glistening in his eyes, but it was awakening. Margaret collected the files, looking at Emily. "You have 24 hours to leave this house. If not, we'll proceed with forced eviction, and I advise you to leave quietly, to preserve your last bit of dignity." Emily stood, stunned, then slammed the coffee cup hard on the table, water splashing everywhere. "I won't leave. I'll never abandon this house." I stepped forward, pointing straight at the door. "Get out, Emily. This is my house. I've been silent too long. Today that silence ends." My voice echoed throughout the room. Emily looked at me, then at David, hoping desperately that he would change his mind. But David turned his face away, shoulders sagging heavily. Emily burst into tears, her sobs echoing throughout the house. But this time, no one was moved. She grabbed her purse, stumbling toward the door. Before leaving, she turned back, eyes full of hatred. "You'll regret this, Rebecca. You've taken everything from me." I stood straight, head held high. "No, Emily. It was greed that took everything from you." The door slammed shut. The house fell completely silent. I exhaled, legs weak, but in my heart rose a feeling I'd never had before. I had reclaimed justice for myself. David came over, hugging me tightly. "Mom, I'm sorry. I let Mom suffer humiliation for too long. But from today, I'll stand by Mom's side." I nodded, tears flowing, but they were tears of liberation. In this house, after so many years, I truly felt like I was the owner again. The door slammed shut behind Emily, leaving in the house a silence so profound it was eerie. I stood still, listening to the sound of her heels fading away on the walkway. My heart was still pounding rapidly, as if I had just gone through a life-or-death battle. But outside, another battle was beginning. Emily's battle with the loneliness she had never thought about. Emily walked unsteadily on the sidewalk, eyes smeared with mascara, the magnificent red dress now only highlighting her displacement in the night. In her hand was just a small purse, some cash and a dead phone. The whole luxurious world she had dreamed of suddenly vanished. She looked up at the night sky,
then down at the street glittering with lights. Luxury cars glided by, carrying happy families, blissful couples. But Emily had only herself. A cold wind blew through. She shivered, hugging herself tightly. The high heels meant only for parties now became a burden on the long, endless road. Each step made her heels bleed, but Emily still dragged herself forward, not knowing where to go. After walking a while, she stopped. Before her was a dark street corner where several figures huddled under thin blankets. Gray-white hair, gaunt faces lined with wrinkles. They were mothers. People who once had families, had children. Now they sat on sidewalks, dim eyes staring into infinite emptiness. Emily was stunned. She heard an old woman quietly say to the person beside her, "My son, he put me in a nursing home, then never came back. Now I have nowhere left to go." The words were like a knife, stabbing straight into Emily's heart. She stepped back, trembling hand covering her mouth. In her mind, Rebecca's image appeared clearly. The silver-haired mother-in-law, eyes filled with resentment, on her birthday. The insulting words from Emily's own mouth echoed back. "You're old, so get out of this house." Emily collapsed onto the curb, covering her face and sobbing. For the first time, she saw her own cruelty so clearly. If not for Rebecca's strength, perhaps she would have become one of those miserable women, abandoned by children, considered a burden, pushed onto the streets. And Emily had almost made that a reality. She looked back at herself, a young person, but greedy, ready to trample family bonds for a house. And now, all she had were trembling hands and an empty heart. The sound of a bus horn brought Emily back to reality. A group of homeless people stood up, boarding the charity organization's rescue vehicle. Emily watched them go, eyes filled with tears. In that moment, she saw her own future. If she continued on the path of greed, she would eventually end up on cold sidewalks, with no one to pity her. Emily jumped up, running through the night. The streets were still crowded, but she had only one direction in mind: returning home. Returning to the house she had once scorned, once plotted to seize, but was also the only place that still had a door open for her. High heels torn, red dress stained with street dust, Emily ran to the familiar gate. Her heart beat erratically, breath coming in gasps. She collapsed to her knees, trembling hands pounding on the door. "Rebecca!" Her voice choked. "Mom! I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was greedy. I was evil. Please give me a chance." Emily's cries echoed through the night, tearing through the silence. I, Rebecca, stood behind the door, listening. My heart shook violently. After so many years of being scorned and humiliated, I finally heard the word sorry from those once venomous lips. David ran downstairs, looking through the window to see his wife prostrate on the ground. His face was troubled. "Mom, Emily, she..." I raised my hand to signal stop. My voice dropped low but firm. Let her kneel. Tonight, she must face her own sins. Outside, Emily continued sobbing, pounding on the door repeatedly. Each knock echoed in my heart, both painful and liberating. In my heart, a fierce battle raged. One side was burning anger, wanting to let Emily taste abandonment as she had wished for me. The other side was vague love, the kind of love any mother could hardly extinguish, even when betrayed. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. Tonight I had to make a decision: forgive or close the door forever. And I knew that decision would change this family's entire destiny. The knocking became more intense. In the quiet night, Emily's sobs echoed like hammer blows straight to my heart. I stood still behind the wooden door, hands clenched white. "Rebecca!" Her voice was hoarse. "Mom, I know I was wrong. Please don't abandon me out here. Calling me Mom. Since when had Emily known to use that word? For so many years, she had only seen me as an obstacle, a thorn in her eye. Yet now, in the cold night, I heard that earnest call from the very person who had wanted to cast me out of her life. David stood behind, face anxious. He looked at me, then toward the door. Mom, she's desperate. I'm afraid. I raised my hand to signal silence. Son, don't interfere. This is a battle between her and me. Outside, Emily remained kneeling. Light rain began to fall, wetting her hair, washing away the once proud makeup. The red dress clung to her skin, dirty and miserable. She was no longer the beautiful, powerful daughter-in-law who had walked proudly through parties. Now only a wretched woman remained, trembling before the door she had once wanted to seize. "Rebecca!" Emily cried until she hiccuped. "I was greedy." I only thought about the house, about property. I was blind. I don't deserve to be David's wife, don't deserve to be your daughter-in-law. But please, Mom, don't push me onto the street. I'm scared. I heard every word, heart-twisting. The image of homeless mothers on the streets tonight must be haunting her. Perhaps for the first time in her life, Emily felt the desperation that abandoned people must endure. I unlocked the latch, the door opening slightly. Emily's eyes caught mine, panicked and fragile. She quickly crawled forward, hugging my legs, choking, "Please, Mom, don't abandon me. I'll change. I swear, I'll never be disrespectful again. I just ask for one chance." David rushed over to pull his wife up, but I held his shoulder firmly. "Don't. Let her kneel. She needs to bow her head once in her life." I looked down, seeing Emily's tears mixing with raindrops on the brick floor. Her hands clutched at my dress hem, trembling continuously. Part of me wanted to turn away and leave, letting her taste more humiliation. But another part, the heart of a mother, wouldn't allow me to do that. "Emily," I spoke, voice deep and hoarse, "do you know what you've done? You didn't just humiliate me. You trampled family bonds, trampled David's trust. You turned this house into a battlefield where I, the mother-in-law, was left with only bitter silence." Emily screamed, "I know! I know everything. I was foolish. I thought if I could just seize the house, I'd have happiness. But now I understand. Everything is nothing if I lose this family." I bent down, hand touching her disheveled hair. "Then tell me, Emily, what do you really want? Money? The house? Or the love you once scorned?" Emily looked up, eyes red and swollen, voice trembling. "I just want to be allowed to call you Mom once, truly. Not for property, not for benefit. I want to be forgiven." Heavy atmosphere enveloped the entire front porch. David stood silent, eyes red. I looked at my son, then back at Emily, the one who had made me taste life's greatest humiliations. In that moment, I saw clearly one thing. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting everything. Forgiveness is to free oneself, to not be imprisoned by hatred. I let out a long sigh, then gently removed Emily's hands. "Stand up. I don't want to see you kneeling forever like this." Emily trembled as she stood, still sobbing. I looked straight into her eyes. "I'll give you one chance. But remember, this chance is the last. If you dare to be disrespectful once more, dare to be greedy, dare to betray, then you'll not only lose the house, but lose this family forever." Emily nodded repeatedly, crying and saying, "I promise, I swear, I'll change." David hugged his wife, but his eyes looking at me truly moved me. In those eyes, I saw gratitude, relief, and the trust he had lost for so long. I quietly turned around, walking into the house. Behind me, Emily's crying still echoed, But in my heart, a heavy stone had fallen. I knew a new chapter for this family was about to begin. For the first time in many months, I opened my eyes without feeling pressure weighing on my chest. Birds chirping in the garden, the scent of coffee drifting from the kitchen. Everything familiar yet strange. But in my heart, I knew clearly something had changed forever since last night. When I came downstairs, I saw Emily standing in the kitchen, her face still swollen and red from crying, hair disheveled. But she no longer had her usual haughty demeanor. Instead, Emily wore an old shirt, hands trembling as she held a spoon stirring a pot of porridge. David stood nearby, making coffee while glancing at his wife cautiously. When they saw me, both immediately fell silent. Emily quickly put down the spoon, head bowed. "Mom, I made porridge for you. I don't know if it suits your taste." I looked at the bowl of hot porridge steaming on the table, heart surging with an indescribable emotion. Not because of the porridge, but because of the change in Emily's eyes. For the first time, I saw humility replace arrogance. I sat down, took a spoonful of porridge, tasted it slowly. The flavor wasn't perfect, but it was warm. I nodded. "It's good." "Thank you." Emily burst into tears, covering her face with both hands. David quickly hugged his wife, but his eyes looked at me, glistening with gratitude. That breakfast took place in silence, but it was no longer the heavy silence of resentment. It was the silence of people learning to rebuild trust from broken pieces. In the following days, I observed Emily. She no longer had mocking words, no longer had that contemptuous curl of the lips. Instead were small gestures, washing dishes after meals, tending the garden, even quietly applying medicine to my aching hands. I knew the wound in my heart couldn't heal immediately, but at least I saw genuine effort from Emily. One afternoon, when the late sunlight stretched across the yard, David pulled up a chair to sit beside me. He was silent for a long time, then spoke in a hoarse voice. "Mom, I know you've endured too much. I'm sorry for being silent all these years. But now I promise, I'll never let anyone disrespect you again." I placed my trembling hand on my son's hand, choking. "I just hope you understand. Family can't exist without respect. Property can be lost, but once family bonds are broken, they're hard to mend." David nodded, eyes moist. I saw again the image of my little boy from years ago, but this time as a man who had learned life's greatest lesson. As for Emily, one evening she knocked on my room door. When she entered, her eyes were red, but her gaze was determined. "Mom?" Her voice trembled. "I don't dare ask you to forget what I did. But please believe, I will live differently. I will consider this house as true family, not property." I looked deep into Emily's eyes, then gently nodded. "I'll give you a chance. But the chance is only once. If you trample on it, don't expect me to open the door again." Emily burst into tears, kneeling down, grasping my hands. This time, I didn't push away. I let her cry, let tears wash away the arrogance that had nearly destroyed the entire family. 3 months later, in the sunny garden, all three of us sat together. David was grilling meat, Emily setting the table, and I sat on the swing chair, breathing in the gentle fragrance of flowers. For the first time in many years, the house echoed with real laughter, not fake laughter to hide schemes. I looked up at the deep blue sky. In my heart, I whispered, "Darling, I finally kept this home. Not with money, but with determination and compassion." Our story ended not with absolute victory, but with reconciliation. Because I understand, life isn't always black or white. People can make mistakes, but they can also learn to rise from ashes. And the message I want to convey to anyone listening to this story is, know when enough is enough. Know what's right. Greed never brings happiness. It can only kill everything, from family bonds to the person you are. If you're watching until the very end, I thank you for accompanying my family's story. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for listening. In life, there are many stories that make us angry, but only with love and human compassion can everything eventually be nurtured. That dawn didn't just illuminate the house, but also illuminated our hearts. A new family had been born, from ruins, from tears, and from the power of forgiveness.